Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a totally fascinating topic, the psychology of discipline, and more specifically, the brain that literally decides your future. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture the human brain for a second. You've got billions of neurons firing, electrical signals buzzing across all these glowing neural pathways. We're talking about 3 pounds of living tissue sitting right there in your head, which, by the way, happens to be the most complex object we know of in the entire universe. And it's the starting point for absolutely everything.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Every single decision you have ever made in your entire life, every habit you've ever repeated, whether it's one you're super proud of or one you desperately wish you could break, it all originates right here, deep inside that massive web of neurons. And honestly, it goes way deeper than just your daily habits. Every promise you have ever broken to yourself, and on the flip side, every massive goal you've actually managed to crush, starts in this exact same place. It is the ultimate control center. Now, a lot of us kind of just think of the brain as this single unified machine, but it absolutely isn't. It's actually this huge network of highly specialized systems. In these systems, they're in a state of constant, nonstop internal negotiation with one another. They're constantly pulling and pushing, and the final result of all that intense biological negotiation, well, that's what we call discipline. So let's break down those systems, starting with part 1, the prefrontal cortex, otherwise known as the planner. To really wrap our heads around this internal negotiation, we've got to meet the key players. Biologically speaking, your planner is the prefrontal cortex. It sits right up there behind your forehead in what you can think of as the executive suite. This area is deeply involved in planning out your life, making complex decisions, weighing the long-term consequences of your actions, and, this is a big one, inhibiting your impulses. So when you actually manage to resist looking at a buzzing phone, or when a runner just pushes through the absolute worst exhaustion, or when you stay up way past midnight just to finish typing one more page, this is the region doing the heavy lifting. But here's a really vital distinction we've got to keep in mind. The prefrontal cortex doesn't just magically make temptation disappear. That's just not how it works. When you're staring down the choice between now and later, this part of the brain simply steps in to help you choose later with actual intention, instead of just impulsively grabbing whatever is right in front of you now. It's basically your anchor to the future. Which brings us to part 2, the limbic system, or the reactor.
Right, so if the prefrontal cortex is the planner, deep down inside the brain we have our evolutionary counterbalance. These deeper structures are entirely focused on processing emotions, on learning, and on rapidly judging the significance of rewards and threats in your environment. This is the part of your brain that just reacts instantly to the sight of chocolate, or the ping of a new notification, or, the comfort of a warm bed on a really cold morning. And why does it do that? Because in our deep evolutionary past, speed literally meant survival. You didn't have time to sit around and ponder. You had to react instantly to avoid getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. That inner caveman is still very much alive and well inside your head today.
So, the crucial takeaway here is this. When your phone vibrates and your hand instantly reaches for it before you even consciously realize what you're doing, that rapid pull towards something rewarding is not a character flaw. Seriously, let me say that again. It is not a personal weakness. It's just part of how your brain learns what matters based on thousands of years of evolutionary programming. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Moving right along to part 3, the habit machine, also known as the automator. So how do these quick actions become so deeply ingrained in us? Well, that brings us to how repetition literally changes the physical structure of your brain. The more often you do something, the more efficiently your brain learns to do it the next time. And this happens through circuits involving a region called the basal ganglia. These circuits take your repeated behaviors and just make them increasingly automatic. It's the exact reason why tying your shoes, or driving that familiar route home from work, or unconsciously swiping open your phone happens with almost zero conscious thought. Think of building a habit like walking through a dense forest. That first time, you barely leave a faint, visible trail in the dirt. But as you repeat the action, as you walk that exact same path again and again, that little trail turns into a worn dirt road. And eventually, with enough repetition, it becomes a paved, high-speed, fully automatic highway. Your brain is constantly trying to save energy, and turning your behaviors into these effortless highways is absolutely its favorite way to do that.
Next up, part 4, dopamine, or as we'll call it, the anticipator. Now, driving practically all of this behavior is a chemical I am sure you've heard a lot about. You see this quote everywhere in pop psychology, right? Dopamine is the pleasure molecule. But calling it that is a massive oversimplification. And honestly, it completely misses the real story of how your brain actually operates. So let's redefine it properly, looking at the actual science. Dopamine is heavily involved in motivation, in learning, and most importantly, in helping the brain predict and pursue rewards. It is not just the feeling of satisfaction you get when you achieve something. It's the chemical engine that gets you to pursue that thing in the very first place.
Just notice what happens when you hear a ping and your screen lights up. You feel this sense of curiosity. You feel a physical pull way before you even unlock the device. That's because sometimes the absolute strongest pull isn't the reward itself. It's the really powerful expectation that something rewarding might be waiting for you. That anticipation, fueled by dopamine, is just incredibly strong. It overrides your current state to propel you forward toward that potential reward.
Which leads us to our final piece, part 5, the daily battle and the resolution.
Okay, so we've got the planner, the reactor, the automator, and the anticipator. And every single day, these systems are interacting and negotiating with each other. It's like a split screen in your mind. On one side, a part of your brain is desperately seeking the familiar and the immediate. Scrolling social media, grabbing fast food, just staying perfectly comfortable. But on the other side, your prefrontal cortex is trying to plan for the future, pushing you to read, to train, to build something meaningful. It can totally feel like a war in there. But the truth is, neither side is your enemy. They simply evolved for entirely different purposes. The biggest takeaway here is that true discipline isn't about somehow destroying your limbic system. You can't just fight your own biology and expect to win in the long term. Real discipline is about harmony. It's about recognizing these ancient evolutionary systems, accepting them, and figuring out how to gently help them work together, rather than fighting against each other. Because ultimately, your future is not written by one single, massive, life-altering decision. It's shaped by thousands upon thousands of tiny, seemingly insignificant choices. Choosing later over now, carving out a brand new trail in the forest, and walking it day after day until it becomes a superhighway. It's these small choices, repeated often enough, that quite literally wire your brain and become the core of who you are. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating question to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. If discipline, like real, lasting discipline, depends on understanding and negotiating with these physical systems in the brain, then why do so many people spend their entire lives chasing a fleeting, unpredictable feeling like motivation instead? Just think about that.